Different shades today. Uh, hmm, I do have some thoughts, I think, with regards to Meathead Ron. Meathead Ron DeSantis. Ronnie D's nuts. Ronnie, he's nuts. He is. How do I start this? How do I start this? Okay. So I was raised partially in a Catholic environment. My mother was Catholic. She was raised by her aunt and uncle, a brother and a sister, in two different relationships. But my mom would go between the two. Sometimes one family couldn't handle her, and she would go to the other for a little bit. And she had cousins that she could play with on both sides of the family. But the main family, my Aunt Blanca, was what I guess you could call an Orthodox Catholic. She did the rosaries, would hang with her friends. This is what she did. Her husband, she died. And I remember my mom actually was a lot more emotional when my aunt died than when my grandmother died. Because my grandmother, what happened is that my grandfather died when my mother was like 4 years old. He got pneumonia and he passed away. My grandmother was left a widow and she had two children at the time. This is a single woman in metropolitan Lima, a third world country that, trailing the world in modernization in many respects. And so it was not easy at all. And she thought that my grandmother thought that it was probably better that my mother grow up in a more stable environment, like my aunt and her husband. That was my uncle Mentor, which is interesting. Blanca and Mentor, a very interesting combination of names. Blanca, of course, means white, and mentor is mentoring somebody. And they were both. I mean, my aunt was a lot more. I don't know if strict is the right word, but she was a lot more uh, tethered to the concepts of Catholicism, with regards to prayer and rosaries and going to church and following all the orders and doing the Stations of the Cross and all the fucking nonsense, everything. And that's what my mother grew up with. And just so you get a little bit of a better feel for this, one of my Aunt Blanca's daughters, she had two daughters and two sons, is a Catholic mother superior for the Sacred Heart in Peru. She is the top nun, actually, and she is probably the nicest person I know, and not as authoritarian at all as her mother and her sister, who's even worse. And it's kind of interesting, so from a psychological perspective. I mean, how people grow and process and have these relationships with these incredibly strange concepts that people accept as being true without any evidence whatsoever. The root of the Abrahamic religion, Muslim, Jewish, Catholic, from those main three Abrahamic religions, we get sort of one core I mean, there's several things that come with it, but I would say there's a core ingredient that is the foundation for all three of them. And they could not exist without this ingredient, or best described as edict, law, the bottom line. And what is that edict? Blind obedience to an invisible authority. Blind obedience to an invisible authority. Let me say it one more time. Blind obedience to an invisible authority. You know what I'm saying? Blind obedience to an invisible authority. And that's what Meathead Ron thinks. He believes in God. He does. I don't have any doubt that he is earnestly has a belief in God. However, that God is an asshole. And wouldn't you know it? So is Ron. And why do I say that God is an asshole? Because it is. Again, it all goes back to the obey authority edict. You don't question it. You accept the truth that you're given. God exists. And he is the ultimate and final judge. And he will judge you. And he will determine if you are good or bad. Based on what? On the rules. And where do those rules come from? Interesting, of course, that they're called commandments. You have to follow the commandments. They are the commandments. Oh, that was nice practice. I like that. But yeah, I mean, you can, that's there, right there, the authoritarian tone, the commandments, the rules, the blind belief. And if you're a child and you're constantly barraged with these ideas, as nonsensical as they may be, they become part of us. They became part of him. He actually went to a Catholic school that my niece went to, the same one, the same, not, I mean, well, not the same location, but the same school in a different city over on the west side of Florida, which now also, I have a friend. I have a lot of friends, really, they're acquaintances that I feel comfortable with. I guess is the best way to say this. It's not somebody who I would necessarily entrust my entire life to or anything like that. But a friend is someone that I feel comfortable sharing my ideas with. It's not a person that I want to use for my own personal cachet or anything like that. You know, it is just a person that I personally feel comfortable sharing ideas with. So Ben Montgomery is a writer, and I haven't met him personally. And he was writing articles with Axios out of Tampa. And I come to find out that recently They let him go, was fired. I don't understand the circumstances, but the entire circumstances, but I do know this, that it was because Ben described something that DeSantis wrote or said. I don't know the details, and Ben would be the better person. Propaganda. And because he made that statement, he was let go. But where is Ron from? Tampa area, all from that side, which is very, very Republican and has a lot of money. A lot of money. I think Tampa's more Republican than Orlando, I believe. I'm not sure. I would have to go back and read, but that's not really that important, really. Because Democrats and Republicans, these are not political. Well, to find the politics of either one is like searching for fleas, on a dog and going through, and then like one gets away and it hops away automatically, because it's really sort of convenience of the time that sort of forms the platform, if you will. But and if anything, I guess if you want to draw the clear distinction in some respects, although I don't know if this is necessarily the case, but it would seem that Democrats do are fully vested emotionally in the concept that when everybody votes, we have a fair democracy. And Republicans don't think that. They think that there are people that don't deserve to vote, that are too stupid to vote, that shouldn't vote, that don't have whatever it is, but they believe that voting is not what you have to do for Republicans. Is establish laws that are going to maintain the order that we want to maintain, and part of that order, which is oddly enough no order, is in the economic realm. Just go at it. Just fucking the world is yours, and the government should not restrict any type of uh, uh, endeavors where you're pursuing wealth and wealth accumulation. And actually, it makes sense that, where is it? It's going to go say something about that. Where they are, I don't know if I have any basis for this really. And again, I'll just think, and there's things that can be researched, because thinking is part of research. It's just like you don't know how to do science if you don't think. You think. You have to have questions. You have to have questions about things. You have to have suppositions and premises and ideas and concepts. And if we don't have ideas or concepts, of course, what the hell are we? Ants? So yeah, so we have those distinctions between the Democrats and the Republicans, and of course, it also makes sense. And I'm sure this goes this is where I was going, all the way back to the early days, the colonial days. When the first settlers and everything like that. There were rich people in that group, and they had their wealth with them. And it would stand to reason that anybody that was trying to get away from something else that was trying to impede their progress in the wealth accumulation game, well, guess I'll show them I'm leaving the country and I'm going to start a new one and I'll start accumulating wealth somewhere else. That's pretty much what they did. It's funny. I'll share a quick story with you. I do have to catch the bus, and occasionally, occasionally I talk to the bus drivers. Some like me, some don't. A lot of this is a result of them seeing me running alongside of the road. I haven't been running in areas recently where the bus runs, so they haven't seen me as much. But I was talking to one the other day, and I laid some shit on him with regards to the early settlers. And he was driving, and I could kind of, I don't know what it was, but there was something about the gestures, the movement, the look in the eyes, the straightaway stare that said to me, you struck a chord. Something you said is making him think. And I asked him, did I blow you away with something? And he said, you did. And he said, I'm going to take it home and process this. And basically what I told him was what I just said now. It was about the early settlers. With, these weren't romantic heroes with, swashbuckling, goody two shoes or anything like that. These people were assholes. And we're dealing with those assholes. And Ron DeSantis, of course, comes from Italy, or his family is Italian, which is steeped in Catholicism and fascism of the Mussolini and the authoritarian ideas that people have that make them believe that there's only one way that things can get done. Conveniently enough, that only one way that things can get done is the way that helps the tribe leader continue to preserve, maintain, or grow their wealth. The Abrahamic religions are nothing less than attempts to control the tribe. You have the Alpha, and the Alpha says, you have to obey your parents. You cannot steal, and these edicts, these commandments are made. This is the way we succeed as a tribe. They weren't wrong. If you measure success in numbers, all three of them have won. And that's because they have ruthless tactics. That's because when you're raised a Catholic, you can be brainwashed. There are things that are said to you that can haunt you for most of your life if you don't sort through the shit. Now, you can ignore it and put it in the back, and actually that's worse, because if a person does that, it's still back there and it still influences behavior. So it's not the best thing to hide that element of Catholicism that pulls you back and keeps you from being yourself. No, I don't want you to leave. I need you to be with me. It is codependence, blind obedience, and that's why you cannot or have a very difficult time convincing a person, because look, at what is at stake here. It's the person's existential essence, reality. And if you tell that person that God doesn't exist, I mean that faith, 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 faith. Don't tell me God doesn't exist. Don't tell me God doesn't. God exists. God exists. God is watching me. It's really sad. It's really, really sad to see how people are duped. Religion is not necessary. It is not. And it definitely does not deserve a tax exemption in light of what they do, which is practically nothing. If I blame anyone for homeless, I'll blame churches. Because every homeless person should be picked up by a church and taken care of. But they're not interested in the homeless because the homeless cannot commit to their ideas. If you cannot commit to your ideas, they say, fuck you. Fuck you. You either accept what we say or we say, fuck you. This is what's happening. And it shouldn't be any surprise. The Spanish were here first. Florida. La Niña, la Pinta, la Santa María. San Agustín. There's a lot of Catholicism. There's a lot of Christianity. And basically, they have enabled themselves. So the wealthy are enabling the wealthy. Middle class is enabling the middle class. And the poor are getting shit on. Meathead Ron is an authoritarian asshole who really doesn't know what he thinks because he doesn't think. He's programmed. He's a product. You cannot, he's like a computer. You have to break the mainframe in order to get through that damaged brain that Meathead Ron has. Christians, Catholics, Muslims, Jews, no one should have their religious beliefs protected. No one. There is nothing to protect except what? What are you protecting? Having to deal with yourself? Having to question yourself? Your motives? Your desires? And you hide all that. I was going to close, but I'm just going to say one more thing. I did go to a Catholic school in the United States for 3 years. First grade, second grade, and third grade. I think it was in second grade, although it may have been third. A better chance that it was third, actually. That my parents had gotten a subscription for me to sort of like this science club for kids. And the science club would send out little booklets every month. Sometimes the booklets were US geography or space or planets or whatever. And they always came with stickers, pages of stickers in the back that were numbered, and you could take the stickers off and glue them in the section that they belonged in the reading where you're learning, which is actually a very good way to help a person learn, because you get engaged in doing an additional activity to sort of reinforce the concept. So it is a very useful tool, and it is a very useful way of doing things. Anyway, the first booklet that I received, and they were like this big. I don't have them. I don't know what happened to them or anything like that. But the first booklet was from Hawaii. And since I had a subscription, they did offer a gift, like a first time introductory gift that came with the first booklet of the series of all the states of the United States. And it came with a Hawaiian idol. It had a little plastic collar, and it was maybe that big, and had little blue stones for eyes, your typical Hawaiian design. And I was very excited about that. And I took it to church and I showed it to my geography teacher, and she ripped it off my neck and said, "Thou shalt not bear false witness idols before me." Oh, the stories I could tell, but I really don't like to tell them. I don't like remembering those things. Uh, and oddly enough, even though I always doubted, that fucking bullshit guilt was still back there. It was still back there. And it took a long, 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 long time to get it out. So now I feel really good, because I know that I'm comfortable with the knowledge that when I die, that's it. And I'm comfortable with the idea that the time that I have right now is the best time for me to do the things that I find rewarding. And I don't know, call me crazy if you want to, but right now, I kind of find rewarding going after the bullies and the abusers and the aggressive assholes and all the fucking mean people and dumb people and assholes. Yeah, I try to stay out of people's way most of the time. I just take care of my shit. I don't see anybody's shit who I want to participate with. Not, I mean, for any long period of time, extended period of time, when repeated. Somebody that I saw. I mean, people have these concepts in their head that they find to be what is the word I'm looking for? They just find, I don't know. You know what? I think I'm going to stop. I think I sort of got this point across. If I didn't, I may watch it again and kind of come back and try to do it again. But none of what's happening in Florida is really legal. Okay. These are all people who have been enabled throughout their years and careers in their community, that have been lifted into positions of authority, where they have the ability to introduce legislation that can have a tremendous impact on people's lives. And these people that are doing that are intrinsically stupid, or intrinsically they have these ideas in their head that are not correct. And those incorrect ideas are feeding the legislation. Why are they incorrect? Well, they're incorrect because they're incomplete, because they're not true, because they're subjective. There's a lot of things, a lot of reasons. If you want God to exist, fine. But God has no attributes. Good, bad, male, female, Republican, Democrat, nothing. God just is. And you got the gift right now. Boom. Here it is. It's your decision. You have freedom of will. It's your decision. And if you decide to be an asshole, then you're going to be judged because you were an asshole. Just keep it in mind. The past is an illusion. We don't know what the fuck happened there. You know, they feed us lies all the time, you know, for expedience's sake, perhaps, right? And the present is confusion. I mean, there's a lot of shit going on. To say that you even know what's going on is, you know, somebody could almost say you're crazy. Oh, guess what? I know what's going on. So I think that's it. Oh, and the future is your decision, right? Right. The future is a decision. So today I will go out and run in just a bit. The sun is coming up. You get to see it kind of coming in through the windows now. I'm out of weed. I don't have a lot of money. We'll see what happens. Take it easy. Stay safe. Bye.